Hello, YouTube. I am here to talk about this loud, fiery, vibrant, will not stand down full moon in Leo. This full moon will be reaching its full culmination on February 1st at 5:09 p.m. if you are in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. If you are in Texas like me, it will be around 4:09 p.m. And I think if you're a mountain, I think it's an hour 3:09 or 2:09 p.m. Anyhow, the point is that this full moon will not be stopped. It will not be as I like to say, controlled or managed, or it will not be shut down. Okay. If you know anything about the Leo energy, it is a very strong, powerful, fiery energy, full of emotion, excitement, um, entertainment, drama, just all that goes with it, right? So it's coming for us. I personally have already started to feel the energy from this full moon. Um, I have one planet in Leo, and it is not an easy planet to have in Leo. It's actually my Saturn. I have Saturn there, and it is always made me feel a little, how do I say this? Not outspoken, not dramatic, and tend to hold back quite a bit. So, um, yeah, that's what happens when Saturn is in the place of the part of our energy that wants to entertain, that wants to be vibrant, that wants to express. Um, Anyhow, I'm not here to bore you with my chart tonight. I just wanted to speak on just some things I think we can learn from this Leo full moon. I know definitely some things that I'm going to learn from this Leo full moon, and that I hope to set into order um, as we move along through this energy. Okay. So, like I said, it will reach its full culmination on February 1st at 5:09, depending on what your time zone is, PM. So, one of the first things I did write notes. So, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm kind of reading off of something to keep my focus, as I can be super distracted by almost anything. Okay. So, I did take some notes just to refer back to, because I really do want to express what an energy this is, what a time we are in, individually, collectively. If you follow astrology or if you don't follow astrology, we are definitely in a very different, groundbreaking, um, yeah, very just out of the norm, okay, time, like unconventional, a time that we have not seen in our lifetime and in lifetimes, you know, well, in generations and generations. I'll put it to you that way. As we know, Neptune, or some of us may know, moved into the sign of Aries earlier this week, and Neptune has not been in the sign of Aries since the Civil War, since 1860, I want to say 2 is when it was proposed, and then it went into effect in 1863. Yes, we are definitely in a radical time. We are in a very a time that we really will not be able to determine which way things will turn. And so I know for myself, astrology has really helped me to sort of just look at history, not repeat it, or not that we can repeat it, right? Because um, the thing I love about astrology is that when signs change, usually there's other signs not in that sign that it was in 100 years ago or what have you. And so it truly is a different energy. It truly is a brand new energy. We can look at certain things, I think, that can guide us to sort of see the archetypal energy behind what is to come, but we definitely can't pinpoint or predict exactly what will come. Okay. So, this is a very unique time. This is a very special time to have um, just so many changes with especially the outer planets. Neptune, like I said, went into Aries. Soon Saturn itself will go back into Aries. Uranus is going to go into Gemini. And Pluto, within the last few years, made its shift into Aquarius, which definitely, I know I've been studying astrology now for about 6 years, and I would hear it on and off again, just about how we're in such an Aquarian age, and the Piscean age is long gone, and that sacrificial energy is now really turning into this sort of movers and shakers kind of energy, of who I am, being my authentic self, um, standing outside of the crowd and really standing alone. And if I have to, Aquarius kind of wants to be in a group, but it wants to be an individual in the group. It does not want to be like the group. So, what makes this full moon so cool? What makes it so, I think, groundbreaking? What is the energy with this full moon that um, I know for myself I'm hanging on to? And I think that you will see um, other people hanging on to as well, knowingly or unknowingly. Your life will take a different shape. All right. So, what makes this energy so interesting? Why is it, so different, this particular full moon? Well, as I was doing my research, um, I looked at the fact that this full moon is the last full moon in what I consider the trilogy. Okay. And what I mean by that is the first full moon in Leo happened around January 2024. And that is the first time that there was a full moon in Leo. When it's a full moon, some of you probably already know this. This is when the moon and the sun are opposing one another. So you have the sun on one side and you have the moon on the other side, and it's sort of like being a mirror. The moon is picking up the light from the sun. And um in 2024, when there was a full moon in the sign of Leo, which was around January at the very beginning degree, that was um, the first time in a long time, I think 27 years to be exact, that Saturn had recently moved back into the sign of Pisces. And um, Pisces, as we all know, is the final sign in the zodiac. Pisces is, um, I consider Pisces to be the finale, the wise one, the sage energy, the wrapping up of things. It's a very deep energy, very mystical, ethereal, but a very strong energy and understanding our spiritual connection to one another, to the collective, just to our own selves, even, you know. So in 2024, Pisces was at that very beginning degree of, Saturn was at that very beginning degree of Pisces, okay? In 2025, okay, when there was a full moon in Leo, Pisces was at that end degree. I think that full moon happened around the end of February, okay? Or yeah, mid-February, towards the end of the Aquarius season, okay? And then Saturn was still in, of course, in the sign of Pisces. And now this full moon is happening around that 13th degree of Pisces, and, or sorry, 13th degree of Leo. And Pisces is finally wrapping up from being in Saturn. And like I said, Pisces is the final sign. It is the final, it is the end, it's the finale. Next up is Aries, and we start a whole new cycle. And so you may have heard, I don't know, you know, on social media, or you've heard astrologers talk about, like, you know, we're starting a whole new cycle, or maybe not just that, you know, you've heard just in numerology, you hear people talk about, oh, wow, we're in the year of the one. This is a brand new cycle. This is a brand new start. There is just so much around the new, a new beginning, a new start, a new energy. And it's reaching this incredible culmination in this full moon in Leo. You know, the archetype of fire, or the element of fire, the archetype of really the lion, the leader, the I see Leo as the courageous one. You know, it's really what the heart really wants, you know. It's our strength. And tarot, you know, Leo, or yeah, the Leo energy is the strength card, you know. Leo is ruled by the sun, and it is bright, and it is a vibrant energy. And I think it's here to remind us that we have what it takes to take a stand for what it is that we truly want, what it is the heart truly wants, and have the courage to really lead the way and use the direction to go after it. So this is the final one. Next year, when we have a full moon in the sign of Leo, it will not be hosted by Saturn and Pisces, okay? We will then have Saturn in Aries, all right? And that will be a whole new cycle. As I mentioned earlier, that Aries is the one. It's the start of a whole new cycle. Pisces is the ending. It's the end of a cycle. And so I've really had an opportunity to just kind of sit with these energies. I think they are just amazing energies. I am super thankful, I think, this time around during this cycle, where I can really sort of bear witness to it, sort of bear witness in my own life, in my own natal chart, you know, that Leo archetype in my own natal chart, that Leo house, you know, that Leo energy. And it takes Saturn 27 years. Is it 27 years? Yes, 27 years to go around the full zodiac. Okay. So just think about it. If you were alive, what did your life look like 27 years ago? You know, I can tell you for a fact, I definitely was alive. And 27 years ago, my life looked completely different. I didn't know anything about astrology, of course, but I could look at that Leo energy in my chart and see how the lessons and the karma, Saturn is a very karmic planet, uh, had really shifted my life in a very different direction. It turned it in a completely different direction that was laid out and that was fated for me and the karma that I had to live out in life. Now, I didn't know that back then, but I can look back and really just be amazed by the direction um, it took, and just seeing how that energy played out in my life. Okay. Now, this time around, this 27-year cycle where it's ending out, and Leo is this last Leo full moon, and Saturn hosting it, I've really looked at what it is that Saturn has been trying to get me to see in that Saturn house in my natal chart. And that's something you can do too. You can, if you don't know how to access your own personal natal chart, Google it or research it here on YouTube. There's so many videos out there just on how to get access to your own natal chart. Um, and it will show you if you have a time chart of your actual birth time, not just your birth date and your birth city, but your actual birth time. It will show you the planets, it will show you the signs and how they all add up for you. And it will show you that Saturn house, it will show you that Leo house, and it will show you that Aquarius house and all the houses, okay? All the signs. But the cool thing is that when you really take the time to think about where you are now versus then, in your life, it's mind blowing. It's one of the reasons why I love astrology. Okay, so I'm getting off course here. But Saturn is the host of this full moon. Uh, the sun is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Aquarius's traditional ruler is Saturn, and the moon is in Leo, which is ruled by the sun, which I think is so cool. So Saturn is ruling this lunation. And Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, as I've mentioned earlier, which is also in the sign of Pisces is ruled by the sign of Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of good fortune and luck and hope. Okay, I like to see Jupiter as really that hope. And Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer right now, where it absolutely loves to be, where it is exalted, where it's in the kingdom, it's sitting on the throne, okay, right now. And I just think that's so amazing because it really talks about that Leo archetype. It really talks about royalty. It really talks about sitting on the throne. It really talks about seeing ourselves in that light, seeing ourselves as royalty, seeing ourselves as a life that is worthy to express, to live and have abundance and to have good things and to have hope and to be passionate and lead one's life and take responsibility for one's actions and be our own personal leader, which is really that archetype of Aries. Aries really is about the self. Aries really is about taking charge and pioneering the way. you know? And so I think this full moon, yes, it's a end of a cycle, and that we won't see this time again for another 27 years when Saturn goes back into Pisces. I think that I looked it up, researched it. I think it was like 2053. We will come to this time again, but in our life, and that Saturn energy and that Leo energy in our charts will look totally different. But I think it's so cool to see now just how we get to end off this cycle and start a new cycle where we can take this new energy going into this culmination point, right, of Leo, the self, the leader, and really forge a new path for ourselves. I was just thinking earlier about how Leo deals with the solar plexus chakra, in the chakra system. And that is sort of like our passion. I wrote down a couple things about it. It's fire energy, which I also wrote. There's no surprise. We're moving into a fire horse year in Chinese astrology, right? But it is, you know, it's really about our personal power. It's our gut. It's that gut instinct that we have, that we think outside the box, that we can say, I'm going to do this. Whatever it may be in your own life, maybe in that Leo house in your natal chart, it's where you have the ability to to take leadership, ownership, and forge a new path, a new passionate, fiery path of, who knows, change, hope, and just all that can come from it, the royalty, the abundance of Jupiter. I think, it could be really amazing. So it does connect us to our personal power. All right. Now, I think I already mentioned that this is our last full moon in Leo. Yes, I mentioned that, where Saturn is in Pisces. It's going into Aries here soon. But it also made me think about how the Pisces energy in our chart is where we are wise. It's where we have that sage like knowing, it really does, for me, helps me connect more with that almost shamanic type energy when it comes to my life, when it comes to not just what I want to do or how I want to do it, but the wisdom behind it. And that's where that Pisces energy is helping to usher this full moon, with hosting this full moon. So I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to mention that. I think, yeah, when I looked back over everything, I thought about how full steam ahead, that's what I was calling this full moon, full steam ahead. Really just embracing everything, embracing all of ourselves. Some of the things I wrote: go full steam ahead. Okay. Don't be afraid to connect with your deepest heart's desires. Oftentimes during a full moon, we can feel a lot of emotion. I work in healthcare, and they say one of the hardest places to work or have to be employed when there's a full moon is either in healthcare, or if you're in a facility where there's a school environment, and just human behavior. You really see it, and people, they call it, the loony time, or I forget, or, you know, yeah, it's lunar, lunatic or whatever, But really, what it is that this energy is ushering for us and wanting us to connect with the deepest parts of ourselves, to look and see what needs to stay, what needs to go, what can I just not take anymore, what can I not handle anymore, what has run its course, and how do I begin to move forward without this in my life. So oftentimes it's true, there is an emotionally heightened energy around full moons. And for me, I've learned to cry all the tears, okay, in the world. I know I definitely do on most full moons. I'm a very moon centered person. I have my moon on the angle, and it is very, it's a very powerful place to have your moon. It's at home. And I think that, for me, it really is a time where I want to go deep. I want to go deep into my desiring nature. I want to go deep into what nurtures me, what makes me feel comfortable, what does my heart really want, So don't be afraid to do that. Another thing I put, don't just follow your emotions, but lead your emotions, you know. Oftentimes I think that one of the things that make, this time or just full moon energy really chaotic or out of sorts is the fact that, we're just kind of ruled by our emotions, right? But I think once you get an opportunity to see that it's coming, this is one of the reasons why I love astrology, why I love alignment and working with the moon lunation periods, is because you really get an opportunity to lead your emotions, to allow them to go into those places that makes you look at things, makes you question the depths of whatever, and it's so healing, and it's at the same time it really is freeing. Another thing I wrote, it's not about ego but pride. Okay, what can you say you are truly proud of yourself for? I think of, like, when I think of Leo, I think of like the lion, and I think of, the pride, and one of the things I think that this full moon wants us to really connect with is our own pride. What are we proud of? What have we, I don't know, maybe completed, or going to complete, or want to complete, or dream to complete? We have Pisces ruling or hosting this. What are our dreams? Where is our pride? And where does that lie? Take consistent, wise actions that truly is a benefit to courageous change. Okay? So, and lastly, as I already mentioned, alignment, when I see this full moon, and you see it here on the chart, you see the moon, and you see all these planets in Aquarius, and the moon is in opposition to all of this, and It's just the moon, and the moon is winning, I think, at least. I think the moon is in a great spot for us to really focus in on the self, you know, to align to the self, to not look at what society thinks is good for us, what society thinks is right for us. Only we can facilitate that. Only we can understand that. Only we can say what the heart truly wants, and go for it and take action. And only we can say what truly gives us pride and what we're proud of. That's just not something, you know, um, everything that's been laid out for us in society or in our families or um, in our own, with all the different accolades and personal things that we can accumulate. Um, those are um, those are just things that are a part of us, but only we can say what truly makes us proud, what really, from a heart perspective, gives us that true strength. Okay, so this full moon in Leo wants you to stand out. Okay, break the mode. All right, take a deeper dive and into the mind, body, and soul view, all right, of yourself. Um, maybe of where you haven't fully embraced and executed real change in your life, um, and really look at that and decide to release it. Decide to release the fact that, you know what, I didn't I didn't do that. I didn't finish this. I didn't create this. I didn't believe that I could stand apart from the crowd and become whatever it was I wanted to be, an astronaut or a model or a basketball player, whatever it may be. What are your dreams? What gives you pride? What makes you proud? Okay. Release it, let it go. Decide that you are going to go on this new journey, okay, of the start of this new cycle in Aries. When Saturn goes into Aries, you're going to go on this new journey, 27 years of when you come back to this full moon time in Leo and say, wow, I really did what made me happy. I really owned my pride, So prepare yourself for your authentic expression of self. That's the biggest thing I can tell you, because I feel, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter what our beliefs are, what we understand, what we don't understand. The truth of the matter is energy is real. It's all around us. It's transforming us and it's changing us day by day, month by month, year by year. So that's what I wanted to share. Happy full moon in Leo. Please share just, your own story or your own journey in your Leo. If you do know what your natal chart is in your Leo, your Leo house, sorry, I'm giving you my Leo house, but please share what cycle has this taken you on, this past 3 years of Saturn in the sign of Pisces, and the hope that you've had to dream and maybe redream again, and restart again or rebuild again with Saturn. And yeah, don't be afraid to share. Feel free to share. I am starting to get on the internet a lot more and make these videos. So I will be back with another video sometime this week. At first I said I was only going to make one every Sunday, but I think I'm going to be coming on a lot more. There's tons of things that I would like to share, that I would like to just encourage the collective on what is inspiring me and how I am working with these energies and how I am seeing these energies. So, peace and love.